So thank you, Reverend Leip Freeberg, and thank you to Karen Leo Hill, Dartmouth Class of 2000, and a musician and Lebanon City Councilor and Grafton County Treasurer for the beautiful music. My name's Ian Scott. I'm a Dartmouth Class of 2024 and one of the organizers for the Student Worker Collective at Dartmouth. It has been a beautiful and revitalizing struggle to get to where we're at right now. I'm proud to announce that as of last week, or maybe a week and a half ago, something, I can't remember the dates now, it all blurs together, but we secured an election agreement from the college, and we'll be having our election beginning March 1st. And our friends at the New Hampshire Faith and Labor Coalition were kind enough to organize this event for us so that we can once again reiterate the importance of this election, what it means for our student workers and the Dartmouth dining services, and to highlight more of that, more of our campaign, what we've done to get this far, and why it is so important that our unit votes yes on March 1st. I have Kaya and Najini from our organizing committee to talk, and then as well we'll have some other workers from our unit come and do some testimonies after that. So yeah, thank you.
Maybe you can stay there and I can stand so we can equalize. No, I'm joking. Oh, really? Okay, so thank you, Ian, and thank you all for gracing us with your presence tonight. It's a difficult day, for all workers of the world, especially those who are in the war-torn regions, especially today in Ukraine, who have recently come under assault and face really tough times. And it is, and I was sort of going through, social media today, and I read this, this essentially quote by Eugene Debs, one of the historic, legendary leaders of the American labor movement, essentially saying that it is never workers who declare war, but it is always. It is never workers who declare war. It is never workers who decide on war, decide on these ambitions. But it is only them and only them who suffer as a result. And it's an undeniable truth that also today it will be. It won't be the not at all the sort of the imperial leaders of Eastern Europe or any other nation who will suffer as a consequence of their actions, but in fact it will be their own people and the people they have chosen to essentially assault. And obviously we feel connected in struggle to all the workers of the world, and our movement essentially began as part of the American labor movement, and especially the American labor movement as it gained traction in higher education. And that has been a process since the 20th century, the latter half of the 20th century, but it really got intensified, especially among graduate workers and undergraduates, with the increasing financialization of our universities and higher education. And the result of this was an increasing reliance, especially in schools like Dartmouth, on one, undergraduate labor to perform tasks and services and jobs that require more fluid working hours and more fluid arrangements and essentially more precarious working conditions. And in other schools, for instance, at Harvard or Yale, with larger graduate worker populations, also here, the sort of increasing outsourcing of academic task and labor to the most precarious and the most unprotected laborers. And a result of this shift was the creation of essentially a sort of this workforce that was less and less students and more and more workers, not only in terms of their working hours. Many people, many student workers work 10, 15, 20, 25, even 30 hours per week on top of the existing, workload. But also a larger gain, perhaps in consciousness, that it is through our labor, it is through the labor of staff workers, who are represented by SEIU 560, and it is through the labors of student workers who work side by side with our fellow workers at dining locations and other locations all around campus, really. And our organization came to be in the middle of a surge in undergraduate organizing. Our sort of predecessors are in several also smaller colleges. Some in there's a dining undergraduate union in Grinnell College, who've organized in 2016, and there's a currently organizing undergraduate wall-to-wall union at Kenyon College, who face enormous challenges by perhaps one of the most hostile administrations to really ever exist in the United States, who has retained Jones Day, one of the most lucrative management side labor law firms in existence. In the past, they have represented Donald Trump and several other really egregious people, and I think they've also represented ExxonMobil in one of their worst scandals. And so Vista, and it is part also through their experience that we were able to put this together, and it is our sort of duty here to express the strongest solidarity possible with student workers currently struggling in Kenyon and other graduate students struggling all across the country, and those undergraduates who are currently in the process of building their own unions. This is only just beginning. Would you like to sort of take us through our own sort of first steps?
Hi everyone, my name is Nadine. I'm an international student from Brazil. I'm so happy to have all of you here. We all know it's a busy time in the term, and as Kaya was mentioned, we have a great, gigantic workload here at Dartmouth, so we really thank you so much for coming here today. We're just going to talk to you guys a little bit through our process to this day about the union. Right, this process began on the last fall 2021, when a lot of students were on campus. This happened because a lot of people weren't on campus previously due to COVID, and then in the fall we had a lot of people here, and Dartmouth was clearly not prepared to deal with all the logistics necessary to have all these students on campus. As a result, we had really long lines at Novak, for instance. So besides all the workload student workers already have, it's a really exhaustive job to work at any of the locations, and I'm just giving Novak as an example. I can speak off with my property because that's where I work. We had those gigantic lines and customers constantly asking where their drink was, and it was just an additional stress we had to deal with, in addition to everything that we already have to go through. So we tried to talk with Dartmouth Dining Services about the situation, and initially it was they made it seem as if there was nothing we could do about it. You know, it's a lot of people on campus, we have gigantic lines, we cannot do anything about it. And I feel like between a lot of student workers, there was also this feeling of hopelessness, of thinking that there was nothing that we could do. You know, we wouldn't be able to change the situation, you know. So in that context, the idea of having a union was born. You know, what if we actually got a union, you know, to be able to talk to the administration with power, to talk back to what they're saying, to be able to fight for our rights here with actual power, collective power. And then this idea was talked among people. You know, we were starting to consider the what if and what were the possibilities of this actually happening. We formed a group of people we are calling the organization committee. And with these people, we've been talking strategies on how to talk to people and how to talk to student workers about this entire situation. We were having one-on-ones during the fall term. So we were basically just talking individually to student workers about the idea of a union, if they would like to be a part of it, what they thought about it. And we had an overwhelming positive response. Everyone was on board with it and really excited about this. I do make a note that some international students were fearing the consequences they could have in their visas, and I use this as an opportunity to state that I'm an international student here, and I promise you that my visa is fine. So this process is entirely legal, and there can be no implications for any students on visas here to be involved, to be represented by a union. If you want to go on to talk about the campaign.
I'm also an international student, by the way. I'm from Turkey. And yeah, I guess it's an interesting also phenomenon. Largely, our movement has been led not due to nothing by people of color, by black students, by first-generation low-income students, by undocumented students, and by international students who happen to constitute the overwhelming majority of workers at dining locations, not for nothing, but because they happen to constitute simply the working class population at Dartmouth. And so it really was no sort of surprise, perhaps, that this this movement sort of flourished in dining locations, because when you gather this many people of these natures and these experiences and these of this spirit and these consciousnesses, they start to think, my peers look like me, but the people who come and order coffees, they don't look like me. They look quite different than me. And in fact, they wear differently than me. They hang out in different places. They have different friends. But I look around me, and it's just my people. So what is this difference? And essentially, that difference is it's a class difference. At Dartmouth, there's, we can, obviously, there's no shortage of talk privilege. We are still one of the luckiest few of that working class population, but the fact is that there is a very large student population at Dartmouth who depend on these students, on these wages, on the work that they do to really get along. There are people who use it to pay for trips back home. There are people who send the money back home. There are international students who earn in US dollars, which are far more valuable currency, which is a far more valuable currency than they have back home, so they send it back home. And, they also think further, let's say a student worker who works 20 hours per week. That student essentially spends 2 waking days that their wealthier peers spend really doing whatever they want. They spend those times partying, studying, leisuring, sleeping, and they spend, on average, those 2 days working. And the implication when you put that in context is that wealthier students at the school get to live their college lives 2 days more. So the condemnation of being working class essentially amounts to the fact that you live 2 days less than your peers. And that is a very, very interesting sort of formulation. And those all go into creating the very specific sort of consciousness. You know, it's that, you know, Marx has a quote that is essentially, you know, one lifetime of working people's work for an entire lifetime to ensure a lifetime of leisure for rich people. And that is, and you know, the fact of the matter is, I don't think we want to have any more of that. There is a moment, and that moment has come, and there is no return from this moment, and we are going to get what we want, whether it be proper wages. Wages have been stagnating not only for student workers, for every worker in this country for decades now, while inflation is rising, while living conditions are getting harder, while you know, prices overall are getting higher and higher, and then wages are stagnating. Welfare programs are getting slimmer and slimmer. No one appears to be resolute enough to actually do something. And you know, working peoples around the country are realizing that this will not come from the heavens, that these gains will not come without struggling for them. And you know, this fall, I don't think it is a surprise that our organizing started this fall in the middle of one of the largest strike waves that this country has seen in years. You know, we had the Kaiser workers, we had the Kellogg's workers, we had Columbia workers, John Deere workers, and we also have a strike for better wages, better working conditions, and we also have a historic organizing campaign by Starbucks workers. And it is all on this larger level coming together, I think, on this sort of really grander undercurrent of working class struggle. And it is giving us hope. And essentially we, in terms of having a union and, you know, bargaining collectively, there's no question that, you know, that will bring sort of, you know, better wages to student workers. It will bring better working conditions. It will give us mediums to arbitrate our problems and issues. And I think it's also important that there's also a larger vision when it comes to our union and what we want to do with it, is that we do recognize that our struggles are connected to the struggles of Upper Valley, of New Hampshire, of Vermont, and all the workers and tenants and everybody else working all around. And we fully intend to use all the power and the energy that comes from our union to work towards towards a livable Upper Valley, New Hampshire, and Vermont.
Can you talk about this, sir?
You want to go?
So just like the workers across this country, the workers here at Dartmouth have had enough. So this term in the beginning of the winter term, we delivered to the Dartmouth administration a letter declaring our intention to unionize and asking them to voluntarily recognize us. This process would make everything faster and easier between us. You know, it would really be a more democratic and fast process for us to get the meeting. We gave them a good timeline for them to like for us to hear their response, and they delayed it. So we only got their response in the end of January, even though we sent the letter to them the beginning of January. And they rejected our proposal of voluntary recognition, but they did say that they agree to talk with us and to make this process faster and, like maintain a communication. We weren't sure if we would have this kind of communication with them, because as we've seen the examples of other colleges across the country, the administration can take a more specific union busting campaign and make everything harder. So the college did agree to talk with us and make this easier. We had some issues in the communication with them in terms of temporality. So we do have a specific context here at Dartmouth of terms of being just 3 months, a quarter system. That did not match with the other dates we had of the National Labor Board, for instance. So to figure that out with the board and with the Dartmouth administration was a bit tricky. But even though now we have an election date, and it's going to happen throughout March, so everyone's going to have time to vote. And we hope that it's to vote union yes. It's really important to highlight that throughout this process, even though we still don't have a formal union, we already got sick pay, which is a super important demand we wanted. So that means that if student workers get COVID and cannot work because of this, they're going to be compensated for this. They're not going to have to work, nor to be concerned about money or being sick. So this was a crucial win of the union. And we also got a temporarily raise for TDS workers to have to be working within those uncertain conditions due to COVID. It's a temporal raise of 15%. And one of our first demands when we actually win the union, because we're going to win this, is to make this raise permanent. It's really impressive everything we've accomplished so far. And as I've said, we still don't even have the formal union. So we can only imagine all the possibilities we're going to have when we actually have the meeting with the union, when we actually have the power to talk back to the administration, to answer back, to don't let them to be the ones who decides about our futures here. Want to talk about the election process in English? Want to talk about the election process in English?
Yeah, before we sort of have sort of testimonials from student workers who talk about their sort of general working conditions and why they themselves unionize, it is sort of the sort of more logistically, the ballots will go out on next Tuesday, and we will have about like 3 weeks or so to send the ballots in, and the vote count will be on March 30th. We will have probably a watch party also. And the Dartmouth has committed to a neutrality agreement, which is a neutrality pledge, which we will obviously be keeping up to the task of, making sure they keep their word, and we need your, obviously, help and support in ensuring that. And, we have little doubt that, we at the end of this process, we will have our union. So from I think nearly a month from now, we will have essentially won our union. But the question is how powerful we are when we start bargaining. And the point of that is that we need to get as many people out to vote union yes as possible. We have around 170 person wide electoral sort of population, and we want to get 170 people to vote union yes, to go into that bargaining process as powerful and as strong as possible, and to really send a message. There's this, I sent a professor an email asking for them to sign on to the letter when we sent it. And the professor replied, and it was the most insane reply I ever got. And you take a professor's class and you somewhat respect them because they say some authoritative things, the master's discourse and so on. But at the sort of the reply I got was, it was essentially to the extent that he didn't believe that student workers had the time to commit to a union. He didn't believe that student workers worked enough to care about a union, and he added a quip, which I haven't even said the word socialism. He said the problem with socialism is that it takes too many meetings, and he attributed to Oscar Wilde. And I replied and I said, there is there is no evidence on anywhere that quote actually belongs to Oscar Wilde, professor. But what does belong to Oscar Wilde is this quote, that the best among the poor is the ungrateful. And it is quite right that they are ungrateful. They are quite right to be angry, and they're quite right to want more. So, but obviously that's not the sort of archetype of professors. We have so many amazing faculty here who have supported to the end. So thank you to all also. Ian, thank you.
And so now we'd like to ask any student workers in the audience to come forward if they have testimonies to share about why the union is important to them. And let's give them a round of applause as they come up.
Hi, everyone. My name is Gus. I am also from Brazil, like Nadine. I'm an international student. I have worked for DDS since the fall of 2018 when I was a freshman. I began working at Novak, and that's where I work ever since. It is very true, everything that they have said, and conditions of work have gotten significantly worse since our freshman year. With COVID, with the increase in the student population, we have had enormous lines. We have never, I believe I speak for all of us when we were discussing fall term, we had never been that exhausted in our entire lives working at Novak. Working closing shifts, I see some of my peers who worked closings with me last term, where we would easily get out of the coffee shop from like 1:30 a.m. to 2 a.m., and it was just so stressful. And so it is really important, and I personally, and I think I speak for all of us, that we are really appreciative of everything that the union has done so far to make our process of working at Novak and working at anywhere here in this college much easier, much smoother, for conquering rights of sick pay for us. You know, I had COVID in the beginning of this term. I lost many shifts. I was stuck in Brazil with COVID because I had to lose my flight. And it is because of the union right now that I will get my sick pay back, and I'm really appreciative of this. And as I agree with them, we will get our union, and this is just the beginning. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for being here.
Hello, everyone. My name is Juliana, and I am a low-income student at Dartmouth, also from Brazil. And like Gus, I have been working at Novak since the fall of 2018, my freshman year. And I didn't decide to work because, whoa, let's work and study and occupy ourselves and be productive. I work because I need to financially. Most of us do so because we need. Most workers at the dining services are low income. And during my freshman year, I would sleep, 2-3 hours per night because I had to conciliate studying with working. And I kept asking myself how better my life quality would be if I didn't have to work and could fully devote to my studies, because the academic expectations are still there, and we still have to deal with this burden because it is a burden. And coming from a non-English speaking country, it's not easy for me to be here and to speak in class and even to talk to clients and customers at Novak. And I worked at Novak when it was not yet a Starbucks franchise, and things have changed a lot since then. And as Gus said, after the pandemic, especially in the fall of 2021, our working conditions were really, really worsened, and it has become increasingly precarious, and there is no dialogue about it. Indeed, the dining services has adopted a position in which we should be glad to have the paying rates we had, and they increased our salaries when we became Starbucks, and that was it. There was no dialogue possible. And we were trying to make them understand that when our working conditions are precarious, it sort of expands to our whole life, to all domains of our life. So it's not about what happens in the workplace at that moment. It's about how stressed you feel after, how exhausted you feel, and how things stop making sense for you because you feel reduced to a machine. And I'm very glad, I couldn't be more glad that the union has formed, because it's not about fighting, it's about fighting together. And I think the student workers, thank you. And I believe this sense of collectivity is something that is I don't know, I cannot express how important it is. And I believe everything that has been done so far will open so many doors. I'm leaving, I'm gonna graduate in the spring, thank God. But many will stay, and we will keep having low-income students here needing to work, needing to send money back home. If they don't have full ride scholarships, they have to pay for it because their fathers actually cannot, and I don't know how the financial aid packages are calculated, but sometimes people don't receive full rides when they should be receiving full rides, so we work for that too. And I think the importance of all this, it is just to treat people with dignity and to sensibilize the whole community about the different lives that student works have here. As they were saying, like, we have a limitation, international students work 20 hours per week. And it's not 20 hours, it's not nothing, it's a lot, because at the end of the term, it's more time you could be sleeping, it's more time you could be, I don't know, talking to your parents, it's more time you could be studying. And so it's really about finding the fair conditions to exist on campus. So I thank you all very much for being here tonight. That means a lot.
Hi everyone, my name is Gregor. I'm also an international student, also from Brazil. We're very well represented. Yes. Yeah, and I'll repeat some of the themes that my colleagues already talked about. Our working conditions have really worsened in the last years, especially since COVID. Everything got worse, it got dirtiest. We are more exhausted, and that exhaustion doesn't end when we leave a shift. It takes like about an hour, 30 minutes to decompress from the shift. A lot of the students are really like disrespectful towards us. We get really stressed. I'm losing hair. So yeah, the working conditions are not the best right now, and they really got worse ever since we became Starbucks, and just the demand has increased so much. The salaries have not accompanied the demand, even though thanks to the union right now, we got some wins. So really, I respect a lot the students who are here taking their time to build this union. And I would like to thank them. It's really gonna make a difference in the future of the other students. I'm also gonna graduate this spring. But I hope this union can bring a lot of improvements to the students who will be here in the next classes of 25, 26, and so on. And yeah, and I thank them, and I hope that the conditions of work become better for Dartmouth students, for Upper Valley workers, and for everyone in this country and the world, really.
My name is Mayumi. I'm a freshman year, also international student, also from Brazil. And unlike my peers, I came here starting working on fall, and I couldn't notice because I couldn't have this experience yet how things could get worse in terms of working at DDS. And I guess it's funny because we sometimes came here and with the working conditions that were presented for us, like you have to work, so we accept that. And sometimes we forget to question it because we couldn't have this comparison. So in the beginning, I guess it was like really hard for me because I came as fall, international student, and usually when you don't have an idea of how things could be better or how things should be better, you usually think that the fault is yours. So, oh, you're not getting sleep enough? Your fault. Oh, you are not being able to enjoy extracurriculars or get good grades on your classes? Your fault. And when the student union was formed and they came all this data for us, I actually lose 2 days of my week. I could be really studying. That would be really great. So it's complicated. And I guess the beginning of when I started noticing problems in DDS conditions of working, it all began with a broken tap that was broken for 3 months. And I was like, okay, we are wasting water. Why don't we just talk to them? Hey, could you fix the tap? It's just a tap. And some of the seniors said oh, we tried it. Do you think they listened? No. So I guess with this start, this unionization, I guess it's really amazing how we already have been doing progress, and I really thank you all for all this progress we have been doing now. And as Najee says, we are going to much longer with this, and I really appreciate everyone here supporting us. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Kate. I am a freshman and I'm not from Brazil. I am actually from Singapore and I work at Ramekin Cafe and 53 Comments. So I'm actually here to present a different side of the story because I think so far you've only heard from Novak workers. I think Novak arguably has the worst working conditions on campus. But last term when they came to me asking, what do you think about a union? The first thought that came to my mind was, why do we need one? I mean, it's not like they don't pay us. It's not like our employers abuse us. Is there really a need for one? And now I think thinking back, I'm just thinking, what kind of system is this that non-abuse has become the baseline? You know? And what kind of system is this that minimum wage has become the maximum wage, and that COVID protection and sick pay leave, these are things that are seen as privilege and bonus and not necessities? What kind of system is that? And I still remember last term, I resented the fact that I was studying in an Ivy League institution because I felt like I was giving in to this whole system of wealth and inequality. But now that I'm here, you bet I'm gonna use every drop of privilege I have to fight for the change I want to see. And I think just to close, I have a message to all my fellow schoolmates who don't have to have a job on campus, who think that the union is irrelevant to them, who can't be bothered to show up for such an important town hall like this. Well, they're not here, but I know this is being live streamed, so I have a message for them. And I just want to say that, first of all, the student workers, we are the ones fueling you with caffeine and Foco cookies every single day. And we are the ones sitting at the snack bars till 2 a.m. while you are out partying every night. And you can sit in class and you can read about inequality and you can say you're passionate about it and you want to change it. But change doesn't start after you graduate. Change starts now. And change starts here in your school and in your community. So thank you all for coming today. We really appreciate it.
Hi guys, my name's Esmeralda. I'm a freshman too, also not from Brazil. I'm actually from the Bronx, New York. Thank you, yes. But my parents are from the Dominican Republic. For me, when I first came here, like working, like if I was gonna work wasn't a question. It was just like a certitude. It was going to happen. I grew up like in a working class family too. My mom works in a restaurant, and I would see her come home just with like burns on her hands from carrying trays, completely tired from just hours and hours of dealing with people, just reeking of food, oil, and grease. So I knew what it was to work. I had seen it with my eyes, but I had never felt it myself. And last term, I worked at Ramekin, and this term I work at Novak. And when I started working hours on hours, and I would call my mom and I'd say, Mom, I'm getting off work right now, now I have to study. I don't think I'm gonna sleep tonight. And when that continued and it got worse and my grades weren't doing too well, my mental health wasn't doing well. And just seeing my mom, and my mom just told me, stop working. Just stop. And I let myself for a second feel the relief of thinking that I could stop working. I let myself like feel the youth that I was losing, feel the hours of sleeping that I was losing, feel just all the experiences I was losing of hearing my floor mates go out until 2 a.m., hearing them laugh in the common room while I went out to work, all those things. And then I came back to reality because I knew that if I stopped working, that meant my mom would have to work more back at home. That meant that my classmates would have to work more, my peers would have to work more, that DDS staff would have to work more, and that wasn't fair to them. And that wasn't also fair to me because I needed the money. And though I liked the relief, I knew that my relief would affect others, and that's the issue. The issue is that while us student workers do feel that empathy for others, some of our classmates don't, our peers don't. When I work and I can't hear something through the glass wall because we don't have a microphone, and I can see people talking about me because I didn't listen. Oh, are you stupid? Like, why can she not listen? I'm saying it loud enough for her. Every one of their words and every second that they talk about me or they talk about any one of my peers hurts. It's never gonna go away. Not only am I losing my youth, my hours of studying and hours of sleeping, losing my health, I'm also losing parts of my self-esteem. I'm losing myself. And it's not fair. I understand that it's very nice to just receive iced coffee, just like when you snap your fingers. I know it must be nice to get a blueberry muffin without working, just, oh, DBA. I know it's nice. It must feel nice. I wish I could feel that too. However, we can't feel that. And that's why we need the union. We need union, yes, because even though you get that privilege, I don't. So to all my peers that say that a union is not what we do need it. Because what you don't realize is the person that's sitting next to you in class, after class has to go work, has to study, has to lose hours of sleep. And just understand that the emotional labor is also a part of it. we also do lose part of our confidence, just part of ourselves in this process. So for us, please do it. Thank you.
Thank you again to everyone who just came up to speak. And now we're going to have a few words of support from the community that's come together to help make this all possible. We're going to start with Reverend Dr. Gail Kinney, who's a worker justice minister at the Meriden Congregational Church and co-convener of the New Hampshire Faith and Labor Coalition.
These young people, these union organizers give me hope for the future. So I can't thank you enough to the students who came out and shared their stories and their feelings and their motivation for a union. I want this to sort of go really quickly and invite just several different people from the community, from different parts of the community. One of the students mentioned the word collectivity. I just want to say, there is a collective of people that the students will probably never meet and maybe never know, most of us, who stand with you, who stand behind you, are in solidarity with you, and let that message be loud and clear to this whole community, to other students, to the students who don't have to work, to the administration, at the highest levels here at this college. There is a statewide community of people who stand with the working students of Dartmouth College. So there were a number of clergy actually who were planning to be here tonight, and then just this morning, or in the middle of the night last night, there was a need for people. There is actually a Ukrainian church community, I believe, in Manchester, and that there were a number of other people who were just sort of deeply moved, frightened, concerned, overwhelmed by what's going on in the world. And so the clergy groups have come together with that Ukrainian parish and with others, and they are, as we are here, they are in solidarity with the people of Ukraine and the people of Eastern Europe. And so they are praying, but they send their thoughts, they send their prayers, they send their solidarity. And I just want to read one representative quote. First of all, I want to say that the head of the New Hampshire Council of Churches, that represents hundreds of congregations across the state, and tens upon thousands of people who sit in the pews on Sundays, and even those who don't come to church and don't sit in the pews but still feel like they're part of a church or a faith community. She really wanted to be with you, but she is one of the leaders of the faith vigil tonight. So she just sends her most ferocious solidarity. But this is representative. This is a representative quote, and this comes from Reverend Dave Grishaw-Jones, who was in Durham, and Dartmouth Class of 1984. And these are words that represent not only him, not only alum, but again, clergy across the state. So he says, "My name is the Reverend Dave Grishaw-Jones, and I'm writing from the Community Church of Durham, New Hampshire, on the other side of our state. I'm a parish pastor here, committed to economic and racial justice, and I'm also a Dartmouth alum. I can't be with you in person tonight, but I want you to know that I stand in grateful solidarity with your student worker collective at Dartmouth. You are not alone. You will never be alone. You offer us the very best and the very bravest of what Dartmouth should be. And tonight, with my colleagues, I celebrate your tireless commitment to one another, to coworkers and friends, and to the common good. As you well know, this is no small thing. Your perseverance gives hope not only to the students in Hanover, but to working people across our state and region. And you will win this fight. Years ago, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. reminded us that the arc of history is long, but it bends toward justice. This evening, we are committed to bending that arc with you. May you be filled with the power and the confidence of knowing you are doing what must be done. So now I just want to hear, and again, I've gone on too long already, but for my colleagues that are here to give words of support, I want to just, I encourage you to be brief so that students especially can get back to their work. But I want to start off by just having a couple of elected officials in the state come forward to just say a few remarks of support. And we've heard our musician who wears several different elected official hats and is going to be here to say something. We have the state senator, Sue Prentice, who represents the Hanover community and all over the Upper Valley and beyond, also here tonight. We have two members of the New Hampshire House of Representatives Labor Committee, the ranking Democrat, and another member, Josh Adjutant, are both here. I'd like to call our elected officials, all of you, to come forward, and then just one by one. Let it be known, they stand with you, side by side, as long as it takes and longer. So why don't we start with our senator, and then you can just pass it along.
Thank you very much. It's such an honor to be part of this powerful conversation tonight, right here in my own community. I want to tag on to the word collective that's been mentioned by Gail and by one of our student speakers earlier, because it's what you already know is that you are collectively leveraging the power of one, and you are doing that for pay. You are doing that for benefits. You are doing that for a safe workplace and worker protections. This is how we do it. This is how you do it. Part of, another piece that I was really, was important to me in the conversation tonight, and it has always been important about Dartmouth, is the fact that you understand what you do here has an impact on the livability of everyone in the Upper Valley. And I'm not surprised because of what I know about you all, but thank you very much for, highlighting that as part of the conversation. And what I'll also share with you as I move along to my colleague and longtime friend, and we used to be on the city council together, Karen, your Dartmouth grad, is that I know these things in part because my husband is a 30-year member of Local 3197, Professional Firefighters of Lebanon. Okay? The food that's on our table, how we work to educate my daughter, all of those things that we have is because we are a union family. And I'm so proud to stand tonight with this union family. Thank you.
My name is Karen Leo Hill. I am a class of 2000. I'm also the mother of a class of 2021. And if you do the math, you'll realize that it was after my sophomore year that Marina was born. And I was a single mother at Dartmouth. I was a student worker, and when Esmeralda was sharing her story, it brought me to tears. These stories are moving, and they should have come with a trigger warning because it put me right back to those days. And I stand here in solidarity with all of you. And I'll share a thought from a book that I read a chapter of many years ago. I think it's called The Cathedral Within by someone named Bill Shore. And if you think about, we're in a church today, but if you think about the cathedrals, maybe you have seen some in person. Some of them took almost 1,000 years to build. The average was about 250 to 300 years. And that means that many of the people who worked on those cathedrals did not live to see the beauty and the glory that they were building. And just like those workers, here you are, adding your stone by stone by stone. You are adding on to the work that people have done before you so that you can be here. And you are going to add to the legacy that others will carry on after you. And we don't exactly know what that cathedral will look like, but we can start to see it. And it is beautiful. And you are beautiful. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Brian Sullivan. I live in Grantham. I didn't go to Dartmouth, but I have been a union member for all of my adult life. I was a union member up in Berlin, New Hampshire, as a science teacher. I belonged to the NEA. I was the president of that union for several years. I can't remember how many anymore. After I got done teaching, I went to work with the National Education Association, which is a union, and I also belonged to a union, the staff union, and I was president of that union for several years. And what I can say is you guys get it. You guys really get it. I did union work for 30 years, and I will say that if there's anything I can do to help you guys out, let me know.
How's it going? I'm Josh Adjutant. I serve on the Labor Committee with Representative Sullivan. There's nothing that I can say to you guys that you don't already know. I have full faith and confidence in the fidelity and ability of you to be able to pull this off in March. Stay the course. Don't give up. You guys are on the right path. Just keep at it. And you've got us behind you. So.
Okay, and we also thank you to our elected representatives. And that is just a sampling of the people, again, across the state who have been elected to office by votes of their peers, community members who stand with you, and that will remain. We are also very fortunate to have some labor leaders with us this evening as well to just speak. Now, is Glenn here? Did he have to? Oh, okay. I couldn't see you way in the back there, Glenn. So we've got a couple of people here. We have Glenn Brackett, who is the president of the New Hampshire AFL-CIO, which is a federation of most unions in the state. We have Rich Gulla, who is the president of the State Employees Association, SEIU, a sister union to SEIU Local 560, which is right here on campus. We have Karen Ladd with us from the National Education Association. And have I missed somebody? Is there a union? Oh, the best. We saved the best for last. Okay, sorry. We know we have here on the Dartmouth campus, and I have known them for years. I have stood in awe of them for years. One of the best and most vibrant and most powerful and most crafty and creative unions in the state of New Hampshire, SEIU 560, the workers at Dartmouth College. So all right, we will start with Glenn, for AFL-CIO.
Thank you, Sister Gail. I'm not going to take a lot of time. Just a couple things popped into my head tonight listening to the students talk and some other comments. The first thing is what Sister Gail brought up a minute ago. You are not walking alone. When you look around this campus, when you look at the construction going on, we represent the building trades of New Hampshire. On the job site here are union carpenters, union electricians, union plumbers, union iron workers, and union laborers. All you got to do is say hi to them and tell them what you're doing, and you made a friend for life. So do that, please. The second thing, a couple people talked today about the people who could vote who weren't here tonight to pay attention to what's happening. Here is what the law says. If you don't have a written agreement with your employer, you are an employee at will, which means your employer can terminate you for any reason at any time. You have no job security. You have nothing. One thing we always say in the union community is, in unity, there is strength. 5 words that we live by. If we don't all stick together, as Benjamin Franklin once said, if we don't hang together, we'll surely hang separately. So what you're doing is wonderful. You're energizing the Upper Valley. And just a quick sidelight, my first union job was in Lebanon, New Hampshire in 1983. 40-something years later, here I am, and I can't believe how big this place has gotten in the meantime. So keep doing what you're doing. You have all of our respect, and whatever you need, you know how to get a hold of us. We're glad to help you any way we can. So thank you so much.
Hello, my name is Karen Ladd. I work for the National Education Association of New Hampshire. I've been a union member for 21 years. I was a teacher for 16, and now I'm in my 5th year working for NEA New Hampshire. I work with school districts in this part of the state, including Hanover, helping them negotiate and grievances and all of the rights and responsibilities that come with being a union member and having a union. I don't know how I didn't realize this before, I am also a former student dining services worker at a private university. So I hear all of your struggles. I too was a low-income student. I had to work. I understand all of the difficulties. I cannot imagine working during COVID. So I applaud all of you. I applaud the work that you're doing. 2 pieces of advice. 1, I heard you talking to your Dartmouth students earlier because this is being live streamed. Your working conditions are the dining conditions of all of the other students. So your conditions matter because they're also their conditions. So everybody should care. It's not just your working conditions. And 2, as was already mentioned, the union is a family. It's not 1 person, it's not 2 people, it's not 3 people. We are the union, not just 1 person. So we are all here for you. We are very excited to be here. We are very proud of you. NEA New Hampshire stands with you, and we wish you the best. And if you need anything, please let us know.
Good evening. My name is Richard Gulla. I am president of the State Employees Union, SEIU Local 1984. I'm one member who represents nearly 11,000 employees in the state of New Hampshire. We're everywhere in New Hampshire. We represent state employees, county, municipal, private sector, college adjuncts, as well as of a week ago tomorrow, recently the Public Defenders of New Hampshire had an election and voted to unionize with us. So I'm very happy to be here tonight and expanding labor in New Hampshire. And as my colleagues and as you have said, I'm very proud to be here and to support you. We are stronger together, and we are here for you, and we are very proud that you're standing up for all of us and raising the wages and living conditions for all of us here in New Hampshire. So thank you, and anything that we can do to help support you, we are here for you.
Hello, my name is Chris Peck. I am president of SEIU Local 560 at Dartmouth College, and proud to be. I worked under Earl Sweet, who many of you know here years ago, and I just, thinking about all this and some of the people in the room that we worked with 14 years ago, it just brings back a lot of memories. When we were out on the green in 2009, the endowment lost $800 million. They were laying off workers, and it was Gail and Jan Schaefer, the AFL-CIO, that came up here and really made a difference in saving jobs, not just union jobs, but college jobs. And this has been heartwarming. But I just want to say I've been thinking about everything everybody's saying, and now I'm last. So, but I want to say is, since these guys started organizing, our phone's been ringing off the hook. Because, you know, you talk about fear and courage. Their courage has really taken the fear out of some of the employees at Dartmouth College, and they are starting to talk to us. And I know, you know, moving forward, I've been here 32 years, worked with the union for over 25, and we've had small groups of staff talk to us, but they were afraid, and so we never really got things moving. It just feels different, and I couldn't be happier with what's going on, and I can't wait to work with these guys side by side and continue growing and helping each other. And I want to be the first one to get a t-shirt when you guys get married. Anyway, early congratulations, because I know you guys are going to get this thing. Thank you.
Okay, and we have at least one more, and then I may have missed somebody, so I'll check on that. But Danny, do you want to come forward? You can just identify yourself and then take it away, okay?
Sure. Hello. My name is Danny Brzezowski, and I'm here tonight representing the Upper Valley chapter of the Democratic Socialists of America. I'm also the treasurer of our Vermont NEA local across the river, the Hartford Education Association, and because collective power is intersectional power, I also bring the solidarity from About Face Veterans Against the War. Organized labor has a long and venerable history in the United States, and that's given us many of the working conditions that we already take for granted, such as a 2-day weekend, 40-hour work week, sick pay, safe working conditions, and an expectation for compensation in the case of workplace injury. These benefits, we have these benefits because of organized labor, but these aren't historical relics. Organized labor remains relevant today, and the COVID-19 pandemic has highlighted the pervasive nature of inequality in workplaces faced by working people providing our essential services. Workers who were unionized during the pandemic have been better able to secure safer working conditions, including distancing, engineering controls like protective barriers, improvements to ventilation systems, employer-provided PPE, testing, paid sick time, COVID leave not deducted from paid time off when workers contract COVID at work. But a well-known benefit of collective bargaining is increasing wages for unionized workers, but also for all workers in the area surrounding the union. There's an additional benefit that comes with collective bargaining because collectively bargained wages are transparent wages, and that is to reduce income inequality and wage gaps for women and for workers of color. We still have a long way to go in establishing equity in the workplace, but unions can also leverage the collective power to address systemic problems and specific instances of discrimination and harassment in cases where individual claims might be dismissed or disbelieved, or workers might face retaliation for bringing forward an incident. Employers evade responsibility and engage heavily in union busting because they fear the financial cost of higher wages, valuing short-term profits over people. But unionization benefits employers by establishing working conditions and clear lines of communication with union representatives who can advocate for conditions that raise morale, that increase retention, and that that increase the quality and productivity of the services provided. And finally, because unions represent collective power, they also amplify worker voice outside of the place of employment. And so unions collectively promote policy and legislation that's in the best interest of all workers, unionized and non-unionized, locally, at the state level, and nationally. And so I applaud you, student workers, for this early involvement in the labor movement, and for building this movement's power. And so I wish you great success in your vote. But I hope you'll continue this momentum, working for the collective good throughout your careers. And thank you for listening.
So I just want to thank everybody who shared the fact that they are standing with the students of Dartmouth. And New Hampshire has about a little over 1.3 million residents at this point in time. The people who spoke to you this evening in solidarity represent hundreds of thousands of those residents in New Hampshire. So there are so many people that are rooting for you. There are so many people that know you are going to win. And we are all going to celebrate on March 30th when the votes get counted. So I can't wait. So have I missed anybody in the
There is a Dartmouth faculty member who is a state representative here, and I wonder if he would like to offer some words of encouragement.
Happy to be here and support the students of this.
and identify?
My name is Russ Berman.
Oh, Russ, okay. I know of you, and I don't think I've ever met you. And so the mask is falling off. Thank you so much for being here. I listened to you on WNHN, among other things. So thank you so much, Russ, and carry this message forward to your peers here, how important this struggle is. I want to just do one more thing really quickly. Kaya? Did you want to say something as a faculty member? Okay.
Kate is my student, but I think she's left already, which is too bad. So my first job out of college was at Oxford University Press, and I led a union organizing attempt there in 1981, and we lost by 2 votes. And then we tried it again the following year, and we lost by 1 vote. However, almost 40 years to the day of the organizing that I did, they tried again and won by a landslide. So I just want to say that it's so heartwarming to see the students doing this because they are the future.
No question about it. Thank you so much. So we've got some action steps. There's one more thing that I want to do really quickly, and that is I have the privilege of convening a Faith and Labor Alliance in New Hampshire, but I could not do the work that I do without the backing, particularly of the AFL-CIO and the Service Employees International Union, which is one of the major unions that pushed us forward in bringing faith and labor together. And there's a staff person at SEIU 1984 who is my personal nag. He knows what needs to be done, and he is in communication with me constantly. Are we doing this? Are we doing that? Now it's time to do this. It's time to stand tall. And he has been at the forefront of putting this together right from the beginning. So David Holt, lead external organizer for SEIU 1984, I just want you to stand up. And now onward to action. Ian.
Yeah, so I just wanted to say thank you again to everybody for coming out. When I came here as a freshman, it was a very bleak scene. And it felt like at that time, it's pretty much even before I matriculated, I was involved with student organizing with the Dartmouth Student Union, and it felt like back then that a crisis would happen on campus, and we'd put together a petition. We'd ask for NRO, or we'd ask for better mental health facilities, and Dartmouth would just say no. And I could see in my peers' faces the just crushing look of defeat. That what are we supposed to do after this point? We rallied everybody together. We got 500, 600 people together to say, this is what we want, and Dartmouth just brushes us away. And now we finally have something that has real teeth. Because as soon as we started organizing, they raised our pay. We didn't even ask for that. Because they knew the power that we had, and they were afraid of it. They are afraid of upsetting that because we have teeth now. We have the ability to respond even after they try to brush us away. When we asked for sick pay, they said yes. And so now at this point, I've truly seen in the year and a half that I've been here, the tide change almost completely. Where at one time I felt completely powerless. There was so much despair among my class. They felt there's nothing that we can do. And now we're on the cusp of really showing Dartmouth that we can't be ignored any longer. And so I want to just thank you all again. There are so many people here who have come out to support, so many veterans of the labor struggle as well have come out to support. And as Kaio had been saying once in one of our meetings with Faith and Labor, it's like we walk this path, and we are new on it. We don't know its contours, we don't know its features, but there are so many people here to tell us, hey, there's a wind here, there's a bump there, that give us that courage to keep moving forward, and I am so thankful for that. But we just have, a few just action items coming out of this. Is for our unit, on March 1st, when you get your ballot in the mail, vote yes. For all our community members, we ask, continue to keep aware of what's happening, keep aware of Dartmouth's pledge to be neutral, and if they even think of putting a toe out of that line, that we'll be there to respond to it. And as well that we want, again, to continue the support that you've brought here physically tonight. You can send letters of support to our email, swcdartmouth@gmail.com, and we will, publicize those. We can, share them with our unit. It means so much to them, and just, stick with us as we push on to victory. Yeah. Yes. And sorry, there's a banner on the table as you're leaving that you can sign and put words of support on as well. That would be really appreciated as well. And to close out, we'll have some music again from Karen. Thank you.